Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful French side dish called potatoes Anna. I love this recipe because there's not a lot that goes into it and it is so delicious and fun to make. It might look super fancy and complicated, but it's actually a cinch to put together. Let me show you how to make it. And if you would like to be the first to be notified when my new videos post, you can sign up for my newsletter. The link is in the description. I have moved my newsletter to Substack. If you're not familiar with Substack, there's a little description below. It's basically a newsletter service that also functions as a blog. I'll still keep my regular blog so you can print all the recipes that you want. But if you're already on Substack and you're looking for someone else to follow me. So the first thing you want to do is get out 3 to 4 russet potatoes, depending on how big your russets are. So these are pretty big. I probably can get away with 3, but we'll find out. There are a lot of recipes out there for potatoes Anna, and about half of them will use russets, and about the other half will use a waxy potato like a Yukon Gold. I have tried it both ways, and I am here to tell you the russets are the way to go. Because they are so starchy, they stick together. So when we're creating our little escargot pattern with all of the potato layers, and then you flip it over, which is how you serve it, it will stay together. So I highly recommend the russets and not washing them because we don't want to get rid of all that starch. We want to keep it so it will help the potatoes stick together. So the first thing you want to do is get your garlic butter going. So I have 4 tablespoons of just regular salted butter. I like to use the salted here in the States because I think it has more flavor. But if you're outside the States, I would probably use unsalted. And then you can get that on a medium-high flame. And then to that, you also want to add 2 garlic cloves. There we go. So basically we are gonna brush this garlic butter in between all the layers of the thin potatoes, which is really delicious because it bakes that way and gives all those potatoes a delicious flavor as well as browning them when you flip it over. Then you also want to get yourself a pastry brush. You know, if you have a choice between a bigger or a smaller, I would use the bigger one because you're just gonna be able to cover more surface. It'll go quicker that way. Then the next thing you want to do is peel your potatoes. The potatoes are going to be a lot more tasty and crispy without the skins. Okay, there, done. Now the secret to this dish is getting very thinly sliced potatoes. You want about 1/16 of an inch, which is a very thin slice, but that's going to help the potatoes become like a pancake and get very tender very quickly in the oven. So you could do it like this, get yourself a very sharp knife, and you just have to really watch it, see, and make sure that you are only going 1/16 of an inch. Almost like, you know, the size of a potato chip. Or you can use a mandolin. Ta-da! Now for years I was terrified of these things until I found a really good one. This one you guys have asked me about. I use it all the time. It's by a brand called OXO. And what I love about it is it's super sturdy, which is tip number 1 when using a mandolin. It also has a variety of settings that you can choose from so you can get right to that 1/16. There we go. And I don't know if you've had experience with the OXO products in the past, but the reason they are so sturdy is because they were developed by somebody who had arthritis, which I find to be fascinating. So all of their products have really good grips to them, and that's definitely something you want with a mandolin. So it helps to have the potatoes cut already so that they're sturdy for slicing. And then definitely use the little safety hat. I one time did not use it and was cutting a cucumber, talking to someone at the table. You don't want to know what happened. And that was the most powerful lesson, to always have a little hat on. And when you press on the safety hat, you'll see there are these little prongs and they are going to stick right into the potato to stabilize it. All right, here we go. There, once it's in, you're good to go. Ta-da! Beautifully sliced, even potatoes. I'll leave you a link in the description if you want to know where to get this. I don't like to slice all the potatoes in one go. I like to slice them as I use them, just so that they don't end up catching a lot of water and moisture and turning brown. So we're just gonna start with this little pile first. Now we're gonna fill our pan. So I have a 10-inch nonstick skillet here, and this I think is the perfect size. If you go any bigger, it gets a little difficult to then flip it over, because remember, we're gonna reverse this once it's baked, and that just gets to be a little bit challenging. So I'd stick with a 10-inch. Then we are going to brush the bottom of it with our melted butter, just a thin layer, because this is going to be the top of our potatoes Anna, and we want to make sure it's nice and golden brown. Then for the potatoes. So pick the prettiest potato you have, the one that's like a really good size and nice and round. That is going to go in the center. because when we flip it over, that is going to be the potato that we're gonna see on the top. And you wanna layer the potatoes one on top of each other and just go all the way around the pan. There, okay, now that we have our first layer, we're gonna add a little bit more melted garlic butter. You can just dab it on there because you don't want to disturb your pattern because that will just make all of the potatoes slide around. So we wanna keep our nice escargot pattern. And then just put them back into position if they slid around a bit. There we go. Okay, now, then you're just going to add a little bit of salt to taste and some freshly cracked pepper. And then, this isn't really traditional, but I do like to add a little bit of fresh thyme because I think it just adds one more flavor to the salt and pepper of the potato. You could also use rosemary too. I would just mince it really finely because if the herbs are too big, it could have a tendency of making those potatoes not stick as well. There, okay. Here's our first beautiful layer. And then you just want to repeat the process, placing in another layer of potatoes. And then I just follow the same pattern, starting in the center and working our way out to the sides. And then it gets another layer of butter. I know, you know the French, they do love their butter. And then another layer of salt and pepper. And a little more thyme. This is a great project for a Sunday night dinner or weekend when you're trying to impress somebody. I wouldn't probably attempt this on a busy weeknight. Although it's not hard, it's just a little time consuming, but the results are so worth the effort. It's so delicious. So you just continue with that pattern until all your potatoes are used up or until your pan is halfway filled, whichever comes first. Now, a lot of recipes will say to start this on your cooktop to start to get the browning going, but I find it's really hard to control the heat of the cooktop. So you never know if it's going to be overly brown or if it's going to be undercooked. So I say just go at a higher temperature oven, 450 degrees Fahrenheit for just 30 minutes, and your bottom layer will be evenly golden brown. Okay, in the oven it goes. And then when it comes out of the oven, it'll look like this. And your potatoes should be nice and knife tender. You should be able to stick a knife in them and not feel any firmness. And then the potatoes will also start to curl and become golden brown. You do want to just let it sit here for about 5 minutes just to set up because it will be a lot less fragile when you go to flip it. And then before you flip it, just go ahead and loosen it a little bit around the edges with a knife. You can flip it onto a plate, but I like to flip it onto a cutting board because that way I can slice it into wedges right on the board. All right, here we go. It also helps to give it a little bit of a shake. And then give it a flip. And ta-da! Doesn't that look yummy? Then for the finishing touch, I do like to add a little bit of fleur de sel sea salt on top. I just think it looks pretty and it gives you a nice little crunch of the salt. And then you can also add some freshly cracked pepper and a few more sprigs of thyme. There you have it. You can slice it into wedges, much like a pizza, serve everybody a piece, and it goes great with roast chicken, grilled fish, or anytime you need a potato side dish. All right, you guys, I hope you give this one a try and let me know what you think, and I'll see you back here next time. Until then, bye.